Okay, I'm making this video as I walk along so I can record some of the ideas and thoughts that have been coming to me on this hike. Some very good stuff if I can remember it all. The most recent thought was that you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. So I understand one of the mechanics of that is simply the more wisdom you acquire, the less easily deceived you are, because you will know and be able to hold the truth up against what you're being told. So knowing the truth makes you very much less vulnerable to deception. And that thought kind of came off. Let me go back a little further. The main revelation I was getting on the way down from the Thunderbolt was the idea that there's two kinds of believers, as I see it now, that claim to be Christians. And one is under grace, and they understand they've received a type of salvation that's through grace. It's not a meritocracy. It's the one where Jesus writes his laws upon people's hearts, and they hear his voice, and do what he would have them do, and without losing their freedom. They have free will. They can make mistakes. They can be forgiven and not judged. They can learn as they go along. So these people are free. They're under grace, and they'll receive mercy, and they will make mistakes and screw up, but that's what the mercy's there for. So that's good. And the contrast is persons that are still, they think they're Christians, but they're still under the law. They believe in a form of religion, but they've denied the power thereof. And I think the reason that makes sense is that they're not really under grace. They're still under the law, which really is a meritocracy. They have to, whether they agree with this or not, they kind of have to earn or at least maintain their salvation by their own efforts, pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. They have a very hard time receiving grace. They don't believe in forgiveness or mercy, or, for example, forgiving people their debts, even though Jesus specifically did this for us and mentioned that, in the Lord's Prayer it talks about forgiving our debtors. So, I see these people, unfortunately, under the law, they're very hard. They're not very easily forgiving. They don't want other people getting any grace, so they're not under, and they're not under grace. They think they are, but they're really not, and they believe in a system which requires, accountability rather than trust. They would tend to be under surveillance, under laws and rules, and have to basically be controlled through a top-down hierarchy and made to obey laws and rules because it's not written in their hearts. And those people have a very hard time trusting. So, they can't easily trust others, and they don't believe in grace because it looks like weakness. A type of grace that they see as liberal and namby-pamby and wimpy, and it just gives people an out when they have a problem. But, and I know this has to be moderated. Nobody can afford to cover everybody's mistakes all the time, but yeah, I think there's enough out there. We've been having a Facebook discussion with some people that, have given me a lot of input, and some of it's negative. And I used to take that personally when people attacked or tried to throw down what I said or the arguments that I made, and now I'm almost welcoming it. I've somehow gotten past the point where I take it personally. I'm like, well, you know what, I'll hear them out. If we're all connected and we're all part of the same whole, which I now believe we are, then I'm seeing a different side of myself, and under certain circumstances I would be just like them. So I begin to see that as a situation where I can learn from these people. They're thinking thoughts I could be thinking, and now can I analyze and understand where they're coming from and maybe get something out of it. So anyhow, that's a revelation that came to me. And fortunately, I'm hiking down Mount Greylock, which is beautiful. I haven't been up here since a medical issue stopped me several months ago, but this was always a great feed for me as far as, feeling good and communing with nature and learning. It's a beautiful thing. So this is kind of where the inspiration very often comes from, just being out in nature and hiking along and seeing the beauty of the spring. I had some other thoughts. I'll plug them in along the way if I think of them, but for now, those are the insights that I've gotten. Hope you get something out of that.